Welcome to Exposing the Hidden Reality. I'm Annette, career reinvention coach and caffeine-powered human.
And I'm Sandra, women's life and leadership coach. I bring the woo to our conversations.
And this is the podcast where we call out all the unspoken stuff, biases, outdated expectations, and all the things women navigate in work and in life.
Yes. We bring to light what we see happening. Smart, capable women stuck in the same patterns because no one really talks about what's going on.
We'll bring some difficult truths.
Welcome, insightful experts.
And sprinkle in a little chaos and fun.
It wouldn't be us if we didn't, right?
It's true.
So whether you're walking the dog or tuning in during your commute, we're glad you're here. Let's do this.
Let's do this. You want to do the let's do this together? Like 3, 2, 1, let's do this. All right, 3, 2, 1. Let's do this. Welcome, everybody. And we are so excited to have our very dear friend, Claire Summers Jones, with us today. She's one of those special people that when you meet her, you instantly feel like, oh, she needs to be my best friend. And then she turns into your best friend. So, Claire, tell us a little bit more about you, who you are, what you do.
Well, same for you both as well. So yes, hi, my name is Claire. I am a carpenter. I have a background in theater design and technology, but I'm currently the owner of Beech Tree Studios, which is a crafting and carpentry studio where I do custom work for folks, as well as teach crafting classes based around carpentry skills and simple DIY projects to get those skills out into the world to folks who may not have had the opportunity to try them, and just give more of a safe space for folks to create in perhaps a different way.
I love it. I should have brought my latest craft project down.
Yes, that's right. And that was in my class.
Yeah, in my living room.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. It was a really, really fun class. The last class that I hosted was a tea light candle holder build for to help warm up our evenings that now begin at 4 o'clock. And trying to bring some warmth and light to this lovely time of year. But you were fabulous. You did such a great job. I hope they turned out so beautiful. I hope you had such a good time.
I did. I had a great time. And I love walking into your space. Like Claire has everything like super organized for her students, but also like all these different places where you learn how to do things. So Claire never makes you feel like you are behind or that you should already know how to do this, or that. And so I really appreciate that style, just assuming everybody's capable and competent and then showing us how to do it.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. I am extremely passionate about meeting people where they're at, especially in a realm of power tools, I guess. It's it can be extremely intimidating, especially for women, especially for folks who have not had any opportunity or who may have been like yelled at by a parental figure doing some fixing around the house as a kiddo who was curious and, perhaps is intimidated by some expectations that they don't, they didn't even know that they had. So my goal is to make it as accessible, as fun, and as safe and open for everybody. It's just that's the dream. So it's so good to hear you say that. And you were in one of my very first beta test groups. So I do appreciate the feedback that I've really been trying to make it, as organized and make the flow as good as possible, because a shop space can be intimidating, even in my cozy little Barbie barn. I understand that it's new and it's not familiar to everybody. So having it be, having it feel safe and organized and open is my biggest goal.
Yeah,
Mm.
I love that. So how do we go into carpentry as like how did that happen for you? Where did you start to get that idea that you wanted to do something creative, but something that requires so much skill too?
Yeah, I have always been a creative or drawn to creative types, but I am not necessarily the most artistically skilled in the like traditional artistic aspect. So, in excuse me, in high school, I was very into the theater program. And if you were in the show, you worked on the scenery, the lighting, that kind of stuff. So that was kind of where I first dabbled, was learning how to build in our, our tiny little podunk gymna cafetorium, um, how to build our scenery and a very basic introduction to power tools and um, all of the departments that go behind the work on stage. And I just loved it. I loved solving the puzzles of like how to build something and get it on and off stage, how to build something collapsible, how to make it safe at the same time. Like that aspect of it I never knew was an option. And when I was learning about all of that, I was just like I was hooked. I was in. So I went to college for carpentry, like theater design technology, with an emphasis in carpentry and technical direction, which is the field that actually learns the structural portion behind engineering scenery. And you can go really, really deep in a lot of different directions there, which is something I didn't know until I started. um, so I've just always I love the creation aspect, but I also love the practicality and like the physics of it. It is harder for me to wrap my head around bending the rules of of reality. So when you have to make something real and magical at the same time, that was where I found my sweet spot.
I loved when you did your presentation for us and you told us about some of the creations that you made for your stage um, productions. And my favorite story is the one about the raccoons.
Oh yes, my favorite, perhaps my favorite animal. but yeah, so I did several seasons of Shakespeare in the Park at the Delacorte Theater in Central Park, um, and which is a free program put on by the City of New York and New York Shakespeare Festival. That they do two to three shows at the park every year. Tickets are free for all New Yorkers, and it is outside in the middle of Central Park. So we had, scenery was always the first in, last out. So we would open the park in February a lot of the times. We'd go in, shovel, dig out, set up all the infrastructure with the operations team, and start our build very, very early on. So we were there, we would be there when the baby raccoons were born and perhaps breaking into the prop shed, or we would find them in the prop shed and we'd have to call the Central Park Conservancy to come rescue them from us. And then if we didn't find them and they would just grow up in the theater with us throughout the season. But we had padlocks on the fridges in the basement because raccoons can undo combination locks. They just fiddle with it till it's open. So we would padlock the fridges, we'd padlock our tools. It was general chaos when we would come back in the morning after an evening show if somebody left a box of napkins out or anything like that. It was always just like kind of like harmless chaos. It was like always delightful chaos. They were never like chewing through our cables and stuff, which was also very lovely. But there was one summer where we built beautiful trees for Midsummer Night's Dream, modeled after trees in New Orleans, and with all the Spanish moss hanging from them. And it was an absolute insane build. And it's one of the most beautiful things I feel like I got to work on there. But boy, oh boy, did they look like real trees, even though they were rebar inside. So the raccoons moved right in And we couldn't start the show if there were raccoons on stage because that's dangerous for everyone. So my dear friend Lewis, who had worked at the park, who is still at the public 30 years strong, he would go on stage with a hose and spray the raccoons out of the trees, and they'd scurry off, hopefully into the park, not into the audience. But if they did scurry into the audience, you could tell, because all of a sudden a row of people would be getting up, and like, it was, yeah, like I said, pretty harmless chaos for the most part. But you know, apropos, I have a small family of raccoons living in my barn who I have am loath to evict, and yet they're gonna have to go. So it's just been a little through line in my carpentry.
They follow you around. You build
space.
your builds are so lifelike and realistic that they just think, hey, Claire, thanks for taking care of us.
Seriously, you know, it's like the least I could do.
You're the raccoon whisperer. They are pretty cute. I mean, outside of the diseases and stuff, they're pretty cute. And I love that they're so patient, like to fiddle with that lock until they get into it. Like I would give up about 3 seconds in and they're still going at it.
Oh yeah, they're determined and they're very smart. And I feel like, and with the like chaos that they provide, I do feel a little more attached to them than than I probably should be.
Amazing. Well, talk to Sandra and I a little bit about what you experienced as somebody in, I don't know if you'd actually say you're in the construction field or the design field. I don't know how you'd quantify it. So first of all, curious about that. And then second of all, did you find yourself in a male dominated area, even though you were in a creative space, which I often attribute more to women, and that might be a bias on my part.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it is. I find myself in describing theater, specifically the technical portion of what I have experienced. It is a very interesting like intersection of art and the trades, because a lot of the folks that I have worked with either started off on stage and moved backstage, or dabbled in design or did design in addition to working in as a technician. And I think it was always just understood that we all kind of had both sides to our brains, or both we're interested and enthusiastic about the collaboration of the whole piece. Like that is definitely one of my favorite things about theater, is that collaboration between, the arts and the crafts portion of what we do. So and honestly, it would depend on where I was working, because I would do event load-ins in, like on a port dock in Red Hook, where we were putting on a party for Absolute Vodka, and Port Authority was there. IBEW, the electricians union was there because they had to bring in power, and there were construction trades, like true laborers there because of the heavy equipment that was being used. And then there was us, who was loading in the truss and the lighting equipment and the disco balls. Like it was always a very interesting intersection. But I think that the deeper you get into like conversation about unions in the trades, like it becomes a little less split, just because of like the commonalities between IATSE, which is the stagehand union, the International Stagehand Union, and the electricians union, the laborers union, that kind of thing. So I would say that I identify strongly as a tradesperson, but my experience to like a seasoned journeyman might lean more towards artistic. So it is very interesting. And yeah, I think, I've been out of the arts. I've been out of like directly in the theater scene for a couple of years now, but I still have extremely strong ties to folks all over the country who are doing theater and dance and music and that kind of thing. So I feel like my experience in New York City was different, even just a few years removed, than it is now. But I was in a very male-dominated field as a carpenter and as a technical director. I was often the only woman in the room. I was often the only woman on the call. And that was one thing I didn't love about freelancing as a carpenter, was because every room I walked into, no matter how prepared I was, no matter how many people on the crew I knew or worked with before, no matter who the lead was, I constantly had to prove myself over and over and over again, whether it was that I could pick that thing up, that I could steer the road case, that I did know how to put those bolts together. Like, it didn't matter. It was every single time I would have to start from zero. And that just gets so exhausting. Because, and yeah, like, yeah, I did have the degree and I did have the experience, and it didn't matter. Not that that is like the end all be all, because there were so many folks I worked with who are so smart, so incredibly seasoned, who did not have the degree. But it wasn't the fact that I had the degree, it was the fact that I was a woman. So that was always difficult for me. And the longer I was in those positions, the less and less I wanted to put myself in them, because it was just exhausting. So I never loved the freelance gig life, because I really desperately hated that aspect of starting from zero over and over and over again, no matter how long I'd been in the city. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that you also have to dress a particular way, right? You have to look a particular way as a woman. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's totally fair. I always felt like work clothing is really important. What you wear is important. How you protect your body is important. Safety gear is important. And sometimes that isn't necessarily conducive to feeling the most feminine or even being taken seriously if you're not wearing the right kind of gear, or what is perceived as the right gear, the right brand, all that kind of stuff. And that was a little bit wearing on my like personal sense of self, more so than I'd say how I was perceived in the field, because I was always going to wear what I needed to wear to be safe, to be comfortable, to be, to do the job right and well. And that doesn't say anything about fashion. That doesn't say anything about like hair color or jewelry, anything like that. Like that was never a consideration for me until it became obvious that it was a consideration for others. And that was always a little shocking to me, to be perceived a certain way, or to be or to have my skills judged on how I presented. That was always very interesting. And then moving from the floor, like a true shop carpenter position, into an office position, adjusting those expectations again, because I was liaising and working with designers and directors who had there was always the higher up you got into the chain, the hierarchy, there was always going to be bias directed downward. So I felt that more strongly when I moved into a leadership position in an office, where I was going back and forth between the shop floor and the office, as opposed to being on the floor directly. And that always irritated me, because it was there's I always found an annoying dichotomy of community that kind of degraded into artists versus technicians, designers versus technicians, directors versus artists, like the departmental division of just perceived notions, I guess, would get really frustrating when we're all supposed to be working towards a common goal of producing a piece of art. That I found really hard to stomach sometimes, especially in spaces where I was the representative of the department, or supposed to be the expert in the room on my field, and then being treated differently because I was young, because I was a woman, or because I was covered in sawdust. It just depended on the day, depended on the designer, of how I was being treated. And that is another reason why I am so passionate about what I do now, is because you don't know anybody's circumstances. You don't know anybody's experiences. There is absolutely no reason to judge from a point of, a glance, you know what I mean? Like that, like that still, it still gets me now, because it was so degrading and so unnecessary, like I experienced a lot of disrespect from extremely well-known people for no reason other than I was dirty, or I had come in from outside and I was sweaty, that kind of thing. It was just like, it was unacceptable to me, and it still is.
Oh, Sandra, we can't hear you.
Thank you.
You're
Do you
welcome.
think it would have been different if you had come in from outside and you were male?
Yeah, I do. I do. I would watch it happen with my colleagues. I would watch people who had less authority than me to speak on something get treated with more respect because the fact that they were a man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've experienced it in life when I go with my husband to look at things. So we might be looking at something technical like computers or networking systems, or things that I have technical knowledge around, or even around building. And they'll talk to him. And then I love the expression on my husband's face, because he'll look at me and he'll say, "So what do you think?" And then the look on the other person's face when they realize he doesn't understand, but she does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. It's funny because I do feel, I've spent my fair share of time in Lowe's and Home Depot. And I just think of that little clip from Parks and Rec where Ron Swanson is in Home Depot and someone's like, "How, can I have find anything?" And he just goes, "I know more than you," and walks away. And it's like the amount of times I've been looking for a very specific piece of hardware, or the one kind of brand of screw in the certain head size that I need, that I know it's here somewhere, and I'm just like not seeing it. But I've been like accosted and told that like, "Oh, we don't have that," or I don't think that exists, honey, like that kind of thing. I'm like, oh my God, like we're still doing this. Okay, great. And also, like, shout out to the Lowe's on Miles Road, because almost all of the Pro Desk team is women, and let me just say, they throw an extremely lovely breakfast and like set up for their pros once a month. And they're just delightful. And there's like, and they are so knowledgeable, and they're there to help as opposed to like a cost.
That is so good to know that there is such a welcoming protest there. That's amazing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They're phenomenal. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, it shouldn't be few and far between, especially in this, this day and age. I don't understand why we're still like desperately clasping onto like the death throes of these stereotypes. It's extremely frustrating, and it's just, we're not over that yet. We're still doing this.
Well, and it's so interesting because I think there are so many talented young women who would be completely interested in pursuing something in the trades. And trade work is so desperately needed right now. And so it becomes a turnoff. So I'd love to see this addressed. I've seen women be very successful in mechanics, like car mechanics.
Mhm.
There's an incredible woman who's doing work in Allentown, and she's specifically targeting women with car trouble and providing a service geared around making women feel comfortable about car, getting their car repaired, and also providing services that support the clientele while they're there. So you can get your nails done, and you can get your
Oh, that's right.
yeah, you can get your hair done, or and we won't talk to you like you don't know anything, because we're also women. And I think that's such an important aspect for people to remember, is that there's also an interface, not just myself as a person in the trade. There's an interface between the client and the person in the trade. And if that client is primarily female based, it's so much more helpful to have somebody that they feel comfortable speaking with.
Right. And that speaks so much to like when, like who actually runs your household? Like I am, I am not, I'm not in a situation where like the work is divided inequitably. Like my partnership is a true partnership, and we pass things off all the time. And it doesn't, there's no strict division of labor here. But I understand in a lot of other households, there is expectations set before anybody even, picks up the phone. So it's very, it's always, it's not surprising to me that if a contractor comes in, or a plumber, or the roofer, or anybody, they're going to target, the male partner. And that is where their focus is going to be. That is where the conversation, the joking, all that's going to happen. And, and that potentially is not the true experience of the household. There's absolutely no reason to make assumptions about who's making the call or who has more knowledge. It's just, it's so antiquated, and it doesn't, it's it's so frustrating. There's no reason for that. Like I hope when my hope for when I go into somebody's home to quote a job is I'm talking to the person who's in charge of who has the vision, who wants to do the task, who's going to manage me, and I will manage their expectations, all that stuff. I don't have any expectations of who I'm speaking to when I come in, but I will lay out my take, best options. And if you want to bring anybody else in the conversation, by all means, I don't care. Like I'll repeat myself to every member of the household. I don't care. I'll tell the dog what we're doing. Like it's fine. But there's no, like, I can't imagine coming into somebody else's home and having having a preconceived opinion on who is going to be making the call of what my work is. Like, that's just wild to me. And just, again, it's just the norm. I will say though, so my partner is in the IBEW, which is International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 38 in Cleveland. And they are, they're often the only female presenting person in the room as well. But they have said that it is not the problem they expected it to be. It is, are you ready? Are you here on time? Do you have the gear? Do you listen? Are you ready to work? Like that is the experience that they have had, which is honestly phenomenal. And I know that the leadership in IBEW, Local 38 at least, is extremely passionate about opening up the trades to whoever is interested. And I know that to be the same for the laborers and the carpenters in Cleveland too, because there are a lot of women who have not aged out, but who've topped out and are now working to get the trades back into high schools around the area, as opposed to separating folks. Like in my high school, it was like, oh, you folks are going to college. Oh, you folks, maybe you should try the trades. Like it was one or the other. There was no opportunity to dabble, So there are lots of opportunities, especially in Cleveland, because the trades are such a heavy presence, because there's so much work to be done here, that they're really trying to open up opportunities for folks. And I think that is changing a little bit with younger generations. And I don't think, I think older generations are like, oh, well, that's really hard work. And, little ladies maybe don't want to do that. Like, yeah, it's a hard job. Jobs are hard. Okay. Like it is a physically demanding job, but that doesn't mean somebody isn't up for it. You're like an 18-year-old is 18, whether they're a guy or a gal. Like they're young and they have a lot to offer and they have a lot to learn. They just need the opportunity. It doesn't matter. A 30-year-old who may be leaving a marketing or an admin position, and they just want to get, they want to try something else, and they really want to work with their hands, and that's the path that they're more excited about. They just need the opportunity to try. They need the access point, and that's really important. That they're not cut off at the knees before they even get a chance.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm old now, Claire, much older than you, but when I was in high school, there were trades in the high school. I went to Parma City schools. And there was a mechanics program. There was a auto body shop program. There was cosmetology. So they had like this whole thing, and it's not in the schools as it was at that time. And, Gen Xer here, we were that first generation where we were told that the thing to do was to go to college, not to, you don't want to be blue collar like I was, right? Was what our parents would say.
Right.
And so the art of working with your hands or solving a problem by tinkering, right, was kind of lost for a little bit.
Yeah.
And now, so like, I find myself now being like, I wish I knew how to use an electrical drill. I wish I knew how to hang this really heavy piece of art so it doesn't fall down on me, and the command strips just aren't going to cut it. Right. So now I'm trying to educate myself, work with somebody like you, like, hey, Claire, if I want to buy this piece of equipment, what does that look like? What am I looking for? And so I think that people of all ages now are getting interested. And then my other question for you is with the surgence or the start of this AI-driven creativity, many experts are saying that a truly AI-proof type of work experience is going to be something in the trades where you have very specific knowledge, where you can be a really deep problem solver because the AI can only work off of information that it's fed. And how do you feed it? Like, your problem is this. It's not always clear cut and dry, right? How much experiment is part of what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I am not a fan of AI. I don't necessarily believe it's going to bring the downfall of our society, but I don't necessarily also see a place for it in my life right now. I think that, first of all, I think let's leave the art to the artist. I think that AI art is hysterical, and how many fingers and toes does a ballerina need? But like, I think that a skilled trade position, you learn over years and years and years of experimentation, of trying and failing, of working under different mentors, of working on different projects. You can't feed that into a computer. The even the little bit I have used some AI I'm sorry, I don't know, like AI generated programs to help with what I do. Like with identifying different types of furniture that might not have a maker's mark or a clear maker's mark on them, or trying to get a little bit more information about the era of something. It's wrong. We can Google search better than it a lot of times because it doesn't have the background knowledge of when it has, like, it can't work with its hands. It doesn't know what an oak board versus a mahogany board feels like. It can't tell the difference in a grain. It doesn't know what a finish is. It can't tell you, like, you could take a picture of the wall and maybe it could tell you the degrees of the bend in the pipe that you need to make, but it doesn't know what's around the corner. It doesn't know where the HVAC is marked out and going to go. It can't collaborate with the people on the ground when they're about to put up that rig point and say, hey man, actually my light's got to go there. You can't put that pipe there. Like, I would say it is definitely a more AI-proof path than a lot of others. And I don't think that the stigma of like you were saying, the blue collar versus white collar stigma seems to be disappearing because there is so much, like, there even just with the folks that I know who are in like a corporate white collar setting versus a blue collar setting, like, there is so much baggage that you carry through a corporate job. And in a blue collar job, yeah, you might come home covered in grease. You might have gotten a fight with the drywallers, but you leave it there. Like you get to come home and you get to shower and change, and that's there. You don't, my partner does not think about their day unless they were like potentially yodeled at all day by their foreman, which is a whole nother can of worms. But they leave it there. There's no stressing, there's no checking email, there's no like worrying about how something is, being perceived or being read or reread. It's, I did what I could. Now my day's over, and I think that is huge for the constant conversation of work-life balance.
Yes.
So big. So big and so true. And I was going to say, I'm older than all of you. And when I went to school, apparently there's a whole name for my generation. It's called Generation Jones, which I just found out about yesterday. I just thought I was a plain cusper, but apparently there's a whole name for me. It's Generation Jones. When I went to school, you didn't have a choice. If you were female, you went to home ec. And if you were male, you went to shop. And honestly, I would have preferred to have gone to shop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we didn't
and
get
not
either.
because,
yeah.
well, and I was going to say, part of the reason I would have liked to have gone to shop is, yes, I was more interested, but two, I already knew how to do this stuff in home ec.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Right? I knew how to sew. I knew how to embroider. I knew how to cook. And so for me, it was kind of like, okay, well, I'd love to learn something that maybe I don't know as well. So yeah, anyway.
That's very interesting too. I'm like, to me, that speaks to what, how folks are raised.
Yes.
And what they're learning when they're little, and what they're, what they're being asked to contribute to the household, even at a really, really early age. But my dad has worked on cars his whole, my whole life. And I never really took interest in learning with him on that aspect, but I did want to learn, like when he was fixing something around the house, I wanted to be a part of that. I don't know if it was because of like the being crouched under an engine and like the tools flying and, 4-letter words being thrown around between him and my uncle. Maybe that was a turnoff, but I never had that inclination to like ask if I could help in the car. But I still I learned enough to be able to take care of my own vehicle now. But, that opportunity would not have been scoffed at in my house if I had been like, what you doing in that engine there? He would have showed me. But I also wasn't, I don't have a brother. It's me and my sister. And if I feel like it would have been obligatory to go work on the car with dad if we were boys.
Interesting.
And also the flip side of that, I hate cooking. I never liked to cook. I never wanted to help my mom in the kitchen. My sister is a really good cook. She loves to dabble and play, and it stresses me out. I want nothing to do with it. I will do dishes all day long as someone else is cooking. I do not have any interest in, I never had any interest in that. So it's just, it shouldn't be about our gender or our societal norms. It's like, what are you interested in, and what do you want to do? What do you want to try and learn?
Yes.
Agreed.
Yes. And the reality is that as women these days, many of us are homeowners. Many of us own cars and don't have a partner. And so we need to cut the grass. We need to take out the garbage. We need to fix our cars. We need to know how to change a tire if we're stuck by the side of the road. I mean, these are all things that I would want my daughter to know how to do. One, so that she can feel a level of agency, right? That I know how to do these things. I may not always have to do them, but I know how to do them. And also so that if she does need to do them, that, she's competent at them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't have any kiddos, but do you find, Sandra, that your daughter has does she have any qualms about trying stuff that she doesn't know? Okay. I didn't think so. Like, knowing you, I figured, but because I feel like I have encountered a lot of women my age or a little bit younger um who have never picked up a drill, who have never tried, who don't want to, who've always just called somebody, which is like, that's fine if you don't want to try. But my inclination has always been to just give it a shot, whether that was the right idea or I made it worse for the professional down the road is a different problem. But I find it so interesting that there's a whole group of folks who just don't even want to try. And I feel like that's less true of the younger generation. It's like they've gotten a little bit of that audacity back where they're like, well, I can do it. But I'm going to do it. I just think that's really interesting.
Yeah. So I think for my daughter, there are certainly things that she will ask about before she does them.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, there are other things that, she'll come and ask for forgiveness that she did this after she's done it without having asked for support.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of it is the age, right? When you're 16, you know everything, right? And when you're 18, you realize, okay, I know these things, but I don't know these other things. So I better go ask for support on that. But at the same time, I don't think that I've not seen from her a desire to have somebody else do it. She's much more about let me do it myself kind of a person. Mm-hmm. Now, I do have to say that I did not learn how to change a car tire until 2024 when I found myself in another country with a flat tire. Yeah.
Nothing like learning on the job.
Yes, this is exactly true. And just to cement the skill, I had an opportunity to do it again 3 months later.
Wow.
Very different weather conditions.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Agreed. I think, too, that social media has made this DIY concept seem more achievable, and people will show you how to do something. So, I'm like, I want to do XYZ. I'll go and look it up, or I'll put it in the search engine and I'll see what somebody else is doing. And there are so many women that are showing you like, hey, I installed this cabinet, or I made this frame, and I'm like, I love this. So I feel like the examples are much less gendered. We don't have to watch, Bob Vila. Oh, there's an old reference anymore to learn how to do something, right? There's all of these people that look like me that are doing and showing and making it seem natural to try and to pick up something with power and do it.
Mm-hmm. My only addendum to that would be, I have noticed, and I've talked to some of my friends who are in educational spaces.
Yeah.
The problem with some of the social media DIY is that people expect the social media DIY results in 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's very interesting when, the instructor gets, has the right tool the first time, has the right hardware, doesn't drop it, gets it in, everything goes perfectly the first shot. And when the student can't get it after 1 or 2 tries, I don't want to do this. This is too hard. You got to do it. You have to do it for me. I'm not like, no, you got to try it till you get it. They didn't pick up the drill today and get it the first time. They've been doing this for years. I've been doing this for years. And that's also why I want my students to have a space to try. That's why I feel like I'm so comfortable being a bit of a goon, is because it's like, it is what it is. You know, yeah, I cut that wrong, or, oh, this angle's really off, or I sure did drop that in the sawdust and I'm not looking for it. Like, it's just, it's real. It's not magic. It takes work and it takes practice, but it doesn't mean that you can't get there. It just isn't a beautiful 2-minute TikTok, no matter how hard I want it to be. There was a week's worth of work that went into making that video. And, well, first of all, young content creators should understand that. It was funny to me to experience that, no, I didn't get it. I'm done. Like, you got to do it. I'm done. Like, no, that's not what we're doing here. So someone did it, and you can do it too.
Yeah, I like that. And I think that's a good thing to remember. And even when we used to watch Bob Vila, right? It was only a half an hour show. It's only a 2-minute TikTok. It's only a 30-second reel on Instagram. They can show you the process, but it's condensed, it's perfected, it's edited. There might be a filter on it. But if you understand that you're capable and you can figure it out, that's confidence that I feel people can draw from watching something like that it's possible. And then if I put in the effort, I can do it.
Yeah, definitely. I love that.
And that's hopefully much more helpful than not knowing how. All right. So Claire, we've kept you for like, oh my gosh, over 45 minutes. Tell people how they can stay in touch with you, how they can find you, how they can learn from you.
Yes. So I am on Instagram at beachtree_creative. And I'm also on TikTok at See Some Joe, but my title is Beech Tree. I just turned my personal TikTok into my business one in a flurry of, oh my God. And my website is also up and running, beachtreestudios.com. That is where you'll find all of my classes, lots of information about me and about what services I can offer. And I do have one more class for this year. It is next Sunday, December 14th. We're going to be making reclaimed molding holiday trees. Yes, I'm so excited. I get to partner with another incredible woman-owned company to small business to source the molding from. So I'm really, really excited about that. I'll be doing that this week. And I think I still have 4 slots left. So if anybody's interested, I would love, love, love to have you. But yeah, I'm really excited for 2026, gearing up for some really exciting collabs and some, really trying to plan my classes to focus on the DIY portion of what I love to do. I think that the skills are super transferable, and it's really, really important for me to be able to show other folks that. So I would love to have people along for the journey.
I think it's amazing. And it's so fun to go. I always end up taking somebody with me. My friend Jess and I went to the first class. My sister-in-law, Andrea, and I went to your class a couple of weeks ago. So it's just something so cool to do. And Claire helps you troubleshoot, and it was fun. And we got to pretend we were nurses at your last class.
Oh my goodness.
There's a whole group of women that was there together. And the one woman hurt her finger, and we're all like hovering and giving advice, right? Because everybody thinks they know things. And they are all real nurses in real life.
All 3 of them were nurses. Like, yep.
Don't listen to anything I said. I'm walking away now.
She was so funny. Yeah, that was
hysterical.
Yeah, that was a good one. She was like, "Will you shut up and let me finish saying my piece? I've got a rag. I'm good to go."
I'm good to go.
You're right, Michelle. I'm sorry.
So amazing. Well, great. Sandra, I know you always have some.
No, I'm good.
Are you good? Claire, write it down. You totally have her speech. We're so glad that you joined us, and we will share all of your information in the description box of this episode. And please get in touch with her. Follow Claire. She gives really good information, helpful tips, and we're so grateful to know you in real life.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to have this opportunity to chat with you both. You're both so incredible. I'm so grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a wrap on this episode of Exposing the Hidden Reality. If something hit home or made you snort laugh, tell us.
Seriously, we love hearing from you. Message us, tag us, or send us coffee. We love coffee.
And hey, leave a review. It helps more women find us and boosts our egos.
Which are like fragile, like suspiciously fragile.
True. All right, until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and if all else fails,
Blame the dog.
See you next time. Wait, did we stop recording?
No, we're still here. You have to push the red button.
Red button. Cool. Just eternal podcasting.
Bye.
Bye.